You are right up my street.
Oh, you can't make me choose.
Igo by Toyota sponsors T4.
Fuck me, Lee Ryan's 13.
Marlene.
I remember we couldn't remember the word for table.
This is You're Welcome America, the podcast that explains what the bloody hell Brits are banging on about.
In every episode, we translate British pop culture for America
And American pop culture for Britain. You're
welcome.
I am Ben.
I'm Fraser.
Fraser Light Razor. Hiya. You're right.
You're right, babes.
A little bit of the pretty fella you wearing the brown.
Stop mentioning pretty Polly.
Warning already, you're going to be getting a lot of Scouse accents.
Yeah, there's going to be
episode.
a lot of attempts at Scouse accents from the two of us.
I've been struggling doing mine, despite having watched all 3 episodes of this Colleen Rooney documentary. It's been a struggle. How are you? What's going on?
I am good. What can I say? I've been to the gym today.
done.
I've had some lunch. I spent most of yesterday laying under a duvet on the couch, recovering from Halloween. I listened to nearly like a third. I finished the Britney Spears audiobook. Essentially, I started it laying under a duvet on my couch, staring into space, and then finished it at 2 a.m. in the dark, literally just with my eyes open, looking at the ceiling, listening to Michelle Williams do Britney's.
What are your favourite bits?
I was saying to you earlier, I found it fascinating and awful to hear about the conservatorship as a full timeline and a chunk. So that was kind of what kept me up until 2 last night listening to that. But mostly I really enjoyed just little bits and pieces, like her talking about how she loved recording Hot as Ice on the Blackout album, or
A song that you've always enjoyed. Baby. And you were saying she says that she sounds very different in that
Yeah.
song. She does. She's really...
yeah, that's literally what she said. She went in and she like pushed herself and never heard her voice like so high and so strange.
Yeah.
And yeah, just mostly all of the discussion about Blackout was my favorite part, because it is, you know, she says that herself. She's like, it's kind of my favorite, and most fans come up to me and tell me about how Blackout is their favorite album.
What does she mention about the other? I know she actually doesn't talk about her career in many ways.
No, the most albums that got discussed were that with Blackout and Glory, because she really loved Glory.
You could tell as well with Glory.
Yeah.
And those are 2 great albums.
Yeah. Then what's that song on Glory where she also sounds really different?
Oh gosh.
That one.
Oh.
You know,
What you say?
Yeah.
Babble, babble. Oh, rung it to the left, rung it to the right.
Yes.
Private show.
Private show.
Put on a private show. I hate that song.
Yeah, no, I felt like that was the most we got to hear about. Like, she talked about actual tracks as well. Like,
So she talked about Private Show?
no, she talked about Make Me, and she talked about the Slumber Party music video, because that's where she met her most recent ex. So it was just like, I was like, oh, when she said Slumber Party, I kind of literally went like, oh, like a little electric shock.
That little clawfoot bath.
No. The clawfoot bath with bubbles.
Yeah.
Clawfoot bath. We always, you and I.
You were the one who's obsessed with filling up the clawfoot bath with bubbles.
I love clunky lyrics. I love clawfoot bath. You know, I love in Not Such an Innocent Girl. Don't wrap me up in cotton wool. Don't wrap me up in cotton wool. I love clunky lyrics. They're really good.
Friday night went out for Halloween. What did you go as?
I went as a generic sports gay porn coach.
You are a comic?
It was a strong looking idea.
Thank you. It was all based on my moustache. I worked backwards from the moustache. That and vanity from working out.
Work with what you've got. Yeah.
We went to a warehouse party that was being thrown by Bears in Space and Horse Meat Disco, which kind of have like a slightly East Side alternative reputation. My thoughts when we arrived were, oh, we've entered like a cliche. It was very Los Angeles gay cliche. I felt like we were at kind of like WeHo Pride.
Yeah, but I would say every gay was there.
Yes, it's true.
That's how I describe it.
I feel like
so
it was
all
just,
genres.
Just costume-wise, we were looking at some real... I felt like... I think I said this to you at one point. I was like, I thought that I had pushed the envelope of being like basic and slutty with my outfit, and I was like, oh, I almost feel like a bit embarrassed, like I'm gonna stand out and everyone else is gonna be in something kind of cool.
No,
it was the most basic lineup of costumes I've ever seen. My favorite moment was when we first arrived, and because I had a whistle because I was a coach, when that person in a Harry Potter costume came past, and I just blew my whistle, and I just was going, Harry Potter costume, and these other people near us thought it was funny.
Was it a sexy Harry Potter?
Yeah,
of course it was.
Oh, yeah, of course it was. It was, not good.
Yeah. I was murder cleanup person. I thought simple but effective outfit.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
very good.
I really had to dry that paint shortly before coming over to yours with a hairdryer.
Yeah, when you first arrived, you were saying, I can't sit down.
No, not going to sit down.
But yeah, my favorite part of this weekend was yesterday. I did make quite a big statement to everyone that we know, saying, regardless of how I feel after Halloween on Friday, I'm not seeing a living soul on Saturday, and I will be alone. Our friend Teddy described it as like getting in one of those Batman cars and all the shutters going dong 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 dong. I like fully put like armor around myself. I had the best day. I watched Great British Bake Off. I watched a terrible horror movie. I listened to the Britney audiobook. I stared into space. Oh, it was delicious.
Well, I can't stop watching Emma Cruises.
Oh, Emma Cruises. We love her.
She's perfect for a hangover. So just to explain to the audience, Emma Cruises, that is the full name of someone's YouTube account. And Emma, she doesn't cruise like a gay man. She cruises on ships.
I took a cruise on the last remaining ocean liner in the world, and I stayed in the cheapest cabin on board the entire ship.
She very much does straight cruises.
She does straight cruises, and she goes through every detail. And the videos are so boring, but so well produced.
Yeah, really, it's comprehensive.
Oh,
and
so comprehensive.
So relaxing.
So many messages, so many comments about whether there's a kettle in the room or not.
Yeah.
She gives you a Britishism of the week.
Yeah.
Which is always like, knackered. Knackered is blah, 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 blah. It's very relaxing. I would love her to do an Atlantis gay cruise.
Yeah, we should try and do a collab with her where we force her. I think she'd die. I think she would die of shock.
Well, her big things are she doesn't like getting up early. That's good for a gay cruise. And she doesn't like crowded spaces. Oh, that's not good for a gay cruise. And what else? There's something else. She's vegetarian. That could work.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Lots of finicky gays like me. Okay, fine. Well, this is us extending an invitation to Emma Cruises to do Atlantis cruise with us.
I love that because her videos are often at the beginning. It's like, I recently disembarked from a river cruise in Germany. Lots of people told me I'd be the youngest person on ship, and I didn't know if I was going to fit in with the crowd. I'd love her to do some sort of,
The idea of her talking through, because she often, if she does like a fancy cruise, or there's like dinner with the captain's table, she's always a bit like, oh, I'm never quite sure what to wear. Like,
yeah.
I would love to for her to break down, here's what I packed to go on the Atlantis gay cruise with Ben and Fraser. She's like, I thought this vest top and shorts would be appropriate, but it turns out
my Britishism of the week is wank.
Yeah, completely wank. It's like...
Oh, well, I'm very excited about that future episode.
She's like, my word of the week is glory hole.
So, as you have probably been noticing on the You're Welcome America feed, we've been recapping Drag Race UK Season 5.
Druk 5.
Druk 5, you get an episode of that every week. We're still continuing with Amazon Prime, as in UA Prime. This is a UA Prime episode.
Yeah, it's a UA Prime special almost.
Mm-hmm. Shall we do some quick feedback?
Yeah, very quick. We had a quick bit of feedback that we missed from Dan B. This is actually about the Druk 5 episode 3, which was the infamous Kate Butch, Shania Twain look that we're obsessed with. Dan says, hi guys, while watching episode 3 this week, Kate Butch looked like someone and I couldn't figure out who it was. Then I realized that she was really giving Nicola from Emmerdale dressed as Shania for Halloween. And then he said, literally no other podcast could possibly get this reference, and I needed to share what I can't unsee.
Let's
I'm
see.
Show you a little.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But wait, in Emmerdale, was she dressed up, or is that just her in Emmerdale?
That's just her in Emmerdale.
Oh, okay.
So he's imagining what she would look like dressed up as Shania Twain in a Halloween episode of Emmerdale.
Got it.
Emmerdale. I feel like we don't talk about Emmerdale very much, do we?
It's
never really been on my radar.
No, it was always sort of bubbling under for me.
Yeah, I feel like I would only ever know people from Emmerdale once they crossed over to do like Dancing on Ice.
Yeah. DOI. We also had some live feedback when we were recording last episode. Literally, we just turned on the mics and it's like, bring, 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 bring.
He
Who's
knew.
that? Who's that? It was podcast nemesis Michael.
Yeah, he'd looked into his magic mirror in his lair and seen that we were recording. picked up his rotary phone. I'm mixing together a few Disney villains like Cruella de Vil.
Yeah. So in his other hand, does he have a cigarette holder and a cigarette?
Yeah. Picked up his rotary phone and dialed us. And essentially, Michael gave us a little update, which is that we've been off the air so long with our regular episodes that we did about 3 different repeat pieces of feedback.
Yeah. Well, all I can say to that is you're welcome to the people who got mentioned twice.
Yeah, exactly.
And please write in with more feedback.
I like that one of the pieces of feedback was me talking about my friend forgetting that she'd already submitted some feedback and doing it twice, and then me reading that out twice.
So like
perfect.
A double forgetful situation.
Yeah. 2 people who don't know what's going on.
But yeah, if you want to get in touch with feedback, go into our Instagram, email us at
You're welcome americapodcast@gmail.com.
Please rate and review us.
What Dan B did.
Yeah, he did. Straight into the inbox. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And also go onto our Instagram and sign our petition for Cheryl to release a 15-year anniversary remix of all her hits.
Megamix.
A Megamix. Yeah.
We're not asking for much.
No.
Those 2 things are very easy to do.
Just get the people who managed to do the perfect Megamix of the Saturdays and give them your masters and just...
Oh, I love the Saturdays Megamix.
The Saturdays Megamix is so good.
It makes some of the songs I don't even like that much, like, perfect.
Yeah.
Like, Forever Is Over, like, just, yeah.
Ah.
Forever is over. Ooh, pitchy.
Right, let's get into the episode.
Let's get into the meat.
Into the meat. So, we decided for it to be one topic today. It is Coleen Rooney's documentary.
What was the official name of the documentary?
It's called...
Is it The Real Wagatha
Coleen
Christie?
Rooney, The Real Wagatha Story.
The Real Wagatha Story. So
Yeah.
we felt like this was something we needed to talk about because Ben had watched it and kind of said, oh, I want to talk about this. Then I watched it separately and I was like, no. We can't just spend 20 minutes skimming over, Cafe Nero. Like, we need to...
I mean, the fact that this 3-part premium documentary starts off with Coleen driving to Cafe Nero. I mean, that...
And saying the words
Cafe Nero. And then later, a really important plot point revolves around her being in Costa Coffee. It is just... And then at one point when she's sitting with her lawyers, you see a Costa Cup as well.
I felt like we knew from that moment this was for us. So just...
Before we go into
Yeah.
it, should we give a bit of background on Coleen?
Yes.
Particularly for American listeners. First of all, Coleen or Coleen?
Coleen.
Who knows?
I feel like that isn't so much a name. That's just a regional... specific, right? That's not the difference between Fraser and Frasier. That's like literally Coleen or...
And also, I don't feel like
Coleen.
anyone in the documentary settled on one pronunciation or the other. But Coleen Mary Rooney, née McLaughlin, was born...
I forgot when she was McLaughlin.
Coleen McLaughlin. She was
Perfect
born...
name for a scout, like
McLaughlin. 3rd of April 1986, is a former television personality and is married to former English footballer Wayne Rooney.
So yeah, to break down even the terms of it. So obviously the term WAG was wives and girlfriends of football players in the UK. They tried to make it happen here in America and it never quite picked up. But as Coleen McLaughlin says in the thing, or someone said it, like as soon as someone coined the term Wagatha Christie for this whole thing, it kind of cemented it in camp kind of Hun culture. But I do like that she also talks about that being like, this actually was quite upsetting for me. It wasn't just a joke.
You're being defined by your relationship with a man.
Yeah.
Can we just, before we get into the documentary, I'm just going to look at her career section on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So she wrote a column for Closer entitled, Welcome to My World. And she left Closer in 2008 to write a fashion and news column for OK Magazine. She went on to make her own series for ITV called...
ITV2, please.
ITV2 called...
Colleen's Little Women.
Let's just play the opening of that right here.
Coleen McLaughlin is the nation's favourite tabloid sweetheart. At just 16, she hit the headlines as Wayne Rooney's girl. 5 years on, she now writes her own fashion column, has launched a perfume, and is the face of Georgia Asda. She's gone from schoolgirl to style icon. But she's still your average girl next door.
Thank you.
I am an ordinary girl. I haven't got the figure of them typical, models on the catwalk. And people always come up to me and say, oh, you're just like one of us, you're right. I don't know what they expect me to be.
Now Coleen is facing her biggest challenge yet. Over the next 8 weeks, she's on a mission.
Nice to meet you.
She wants to get real women like her to become the faces of 8 major brands.
Excuse me? Have you ever got time just to stop for a minute?
Okay, can we just describe to the audience what we just watched?
Wow. I mean, first of all, we need to talk about what music was playing behind that. That was also Fern Cotton definitely doing the voiceover. Voice of ITV2 at the time. That was a sound-alike instrumental of Oops, I Did It Again.
Yeah. In the year 2006. What?
Really strange.
Lots of shots of her just like on the street being like,
Hey, can you talk for a minute?
Excuse me, I like your look.
You want to be the face of Nivea?
I was going to say Dove.
Oh, no, Dove, you're completely... I panicked. Dove is the one.
the face of Dove soap when they're real women?
This is actually a great idea for a show. Just in general, it's like the anti... It works at the time. I felt like that was the real when there started to be that pushback on Size Zero. And who was it that did that? Your favourite documentary? Was it Louise?
Oh, it was Louise, yeah.
And so,
yeah, but that really problematic documentary where Louise kind of gave herself an eating disorder.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
These were the Wild West days of people trying to be sensitive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's basically her trying to find real women, just like herself, to be the faces of different brands. Again, we talk about how we have to watch this show.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe we should just watch one episode. As far as I do remember, it did involve her running up to a lot of different women in the street and being like, hey, yeah, can you talk for a minute?
Do you think when it was pitched, someone referenced Street Mate?
Definitely. Street Mate meets America's Next Top Model. Street Mate.
Oh.
We can't get into Street Mate. It's too...
Here's the thing. It genuinely is quite a good idea for a show.
Yeah.
Kind of ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But the issue is Colleen's beautiful.
Yeah.
She is this utterly gorgeous woman. So for her to... And yeah, she is real. She's not a size 0 or whatever. But she's...
Yeah,
pretty gorgeous.
she's a very specific end of the real person spectrum for sure. But yeah, that was great. Little, what was her perfume? It was put in the voiceover that she launched her own perfume.
Remember, it was that bottle that just had her signature on it, Coleen, with like a kiss in the end.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
We should try and get our hands on some of that.
I wonder what that smells like these days. So that was Colleen's Real Woman. So suffice to say, she's been busy. She's had a career.
Yeah.
She also published a 4-book series called Colleen Style Queen between 2008 and 10. And then there's a gap in her what was going on until 2023.
Yeah.
So I do think in general, it's interesting thinking about her because it's a lazy comparison, but you think about Victoria Beckham.
Yeah.
And thing about Victoria is she really had her own career and then started a whole new career. The thing that got me throughout all of this was, and this is absolutely no shade to Coleen, is I don't think she actually really wants a career.
No.
She wants to raise a family.
Yes, 100%. She wants
Which
to be
is obviously
a wife and mother. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's hard work and that's a lot of time. But like that, it's interesting because all of this stuff fell away.
Yeah.
All these things, and she kind of disappeared.
I feel like that element of her was the clearest thing to me in this whole documentary, is about how she truly is an ordinary person who just happens to be famous throughout because of that situation. Yeah. I feel like she did some stuff at the time because it was being offered to her, but you can just tell, like, the way that the whole Instagram thing even comes about in this documentary is purely because she's too famous to have a boring Instagram, so she has to have a private one so she can be a completely boring, happy, average, like, housewife and mother. Like, that's all she wanted to be, basically. Yeah. And it's fascinating how this kind of came about because of that.
Let's for anyone who's not fully aware, let's just give a brief overview of what this documentary is about and what happens. Essentially, Coleen Rooney, she is a wife of a footballer, Wayne Rooney, very big in the UK. She's also her own person, thank you very much. Yep. And she had a private Instagram account with about 300 followers.
Private account. She says private account so many times in this documentary.
And then the Sun newspaper.
Posted it to me private account.
So she was posting things on there, and those kept on getting leaked to the Sun newspaper.
The Sun newspaper.
And she was thinking, well, there must be someone on my private account who's doing this. And she managed to work out it was a fellow wag, Rebecca Vardy.
Yep.
And she famously...
Rebecca Vardy's account.
Yep, she famously tweeted a whole... She managed to work out it was her by putting everyone on like private and just Rebecca Vardy on stories.
Yep.
Rebecca saw that some fake stories she posted... They ended up in the Sun newspaper.
Sun newspaper.
And then Colleen went public by accusing Rebecca Vardy of doing that. A court case ensued.
Yes, Rebecca Vardy sued Colleen for libel.
Yeah, and then Colleen won.
Yeah. Now, I will tell you, when this all came about, I saw the initial thing at the beginning. I saw that they had to end up going to like the High Court for libel. I kind of dropped off the details of this, so I actually didn't know the results. Isn't that crazy?
I assumed watching this documentary that she didn't win the court case, because otherwise I'm like, why are you doing this documentary?
That's literally what I thought too. It felt really fun to watch something not knowing the ending of it when it's like a pop culture thing. I felt really excited that I didn't kind of know. So yeah, that's essentially what happened, but it's so much more kind of nuanced and wonderful, and also I feel quite bad for her. I felt genuinely bad for her in the way that, like I was saying, that stuff she's saying about how, like, yeah, it's all very funny. People think this is a joke, but actually I'm just trying to, like, defend my reputation.
And there's some major things to note. I didn't even realize that they moved to America at one point.
And Washington, D.C. plays a strangely huge part in this whole thing.
Yeah. So they go over there. Colleen doesn't know anyone over there, so she's quite isolated. She gets depressed. So then she gets more paranoid when things... And she's using her private Instagram account to keep in touch with her friends and family. And so she gets even more paranoid when those stories get leaked, those photos get leaked. So that's a huge thing that's going on.
Now, I did ask you to definitely screen grab. For some reason, there was a picture of her face photoshopped onto the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, that was for her leaving party, wasn't it? Her surprise leaving party.
But I love that she went to Washington, D.C. It's like they didn't put her face on like the Lincoln Memorial or at the top of the...
Yeah.
Imagine her face on Lincoln sitting in his chair, Colleen's face on it. We should do that.
Or like a Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
I'd like that as well. So that really stuck out to me. I think one thing as an overall note, Podcast Nemesis Michael made a good point in that in many ways the whole situation is so low stakes, but it's also quite serious.
Yeah.
And you believe her and you root for her, but it's also very petty.
Yes.
So it's like a really sweet spot of a crime in quotation marks.
The reason she is not just in the right because she was right about it is that, and she says it very clearly in this, obviously there's going to be like fallout from her posting that thing about discovering who it was. But in her mind, she was like, I've done the investigation. I've discovered who it is. She's now been exposed. The case is closed.
Yeah.
But then because she sued her, because Rebecca sued her, that's when it became like legally petty. And we were having to like hear like those transcripts, then I know we're speaking out of sequence here, but when they finally unredacted those messages between Rebecca Vardy and her agent, my stomach was in like knots. You know that idea of someone finding your phone and reading every intimate, like, I'm not saying all I ever do is send mean messages about people because that's not true, but just, you know,
so much WhatsApp.
So much talk of WhatsApp.
It really does confirm the fact that WhatsApp is just dominant in the UK.
Yeah, and Europe, definitely. Yeah. It's just, people in this country do not understand WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I have to deal with it a lot for work, and people don't get it.
The noises of it constantly on the screen as well.
I was going to say, how good were the reenactments of the messages on WhatsApp were really, really good. Mm-hmm. So they were like, every time she talked about Rebecca sending her a message, you heard the WhatsApp ping noise. And
be like, hey, hun, hope you're doing okay. Thinking of you.
What a wonderfully devious character she was.
So I went on Rebecca Vardy's account. I went on her Instagram to be like, what, like, with all this documentary and everything going on, how can, and I was talking about this with Podcast Nemesis Michael, how can one support Rebecca Vardy?
Right.
Like, what, there's no redeeming thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you look at her lots of her posts, recent posts, she has been posting since this documentary came out. A lot of the public are like, "Oh, keep your head up high, love," and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, but how could you back her? And then I looked into it more, and I think a lot of people, it's weird because it's something that we talk about and aware of, but we are not, and this is a real stereotype, but we're not a specific woman in the UK who gets so absorbed in this and follows it, and we wouldn't be messing each other. Like lots of people would be like, "Oh my god, that Colleen McLaughlin, she's so like Colleen Rooney, she's so up herself,
right,
she's so smug. I hate her. I just hate her face."
Yeah,
like I feel like a lot of people in the UK are like that.
Yeah, there's a weird. Well, I was about to say a word. I think we need to just take a moment to have a PSA and have a conversation with the people of the UK about a certain word that's used in this documentary.
Han?
No. It's a technical term that it's something that's come about more recent years of people sending nasty messages to people on the internet. So to troll someone...
Oh, here we go.
To troll someone, it comes from Troll. The term troll, like an ogre, you're trolling someone. Internet trolls.
Yeah.
So to make that word longer, you would say trolling. Trolling.
Not in this documentary.
This documentary is filled with trolling.
Trolling.
It's not trolling, it's trolling.
Trolling.
You don't change the beginning, you don't change the first part of the word, how you pronounce it just because it's an ing. You still say it.
I don't agree with the people who were trolling Rebecca Vardy.
Rebecca Vardy's account.
Rebecca Vardy's account.
So yeah, just from this point onwards, people in the UK, it is trolling, and I don't want to hear trolling from anyone.
I was getting so confused because I was like,
Trolley.
trolling like a net? TRAWLING. I was like, what? And then I messaged Crystal about it, and he's like, yeah, I've always found that very confusing as well.
Yeah, it's trolley. Yeah, it's that trolley. Clang, 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 went the trolley. I don't know
with
why
the
I thought that.
trolling.
With the trolling. Rebecca Vardy's account.
Now, I loved... Okay, two other things to note about this. Many things to note, but two other things. When Colleen was being a right Wagatha, when she was doing her investigative work on her private Instagram account, she told no one about it.
Yes.
She was just there tapping away, doing close friend stories just to Rebecca Vardy, taking screenshots that Rebecca Vardy had seen them.
In Cafe Nero.
Yeah, in Cafe Nero, doing all these things. And then when she just went, once her evidence was conclusive to her, or inconclusive, whatever, confirmed, she went to a Costa Coffee and she tapped away, and she tweeted out her thing saying that it was Rebecca Vardy's account.
Should I read it in full?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to try and do the whole thing in her accent, which I don't think is going to work very well. For a few years now, someone who I trusted to follow my personal Instagram account has consistently been informing the Sun newspaper of me private posts and stories. Oh my god, I'm turning into that Y-bird from Playground. I'm just going to do it in my own accent. There has been so much information given to them about me, my friends and my family, all without my permission or knowledge. After a long time of trying to figure out who it could be for various reasons, I had a suspicion. To try and prove this, I came up with an idea. I blocked everyone from viewing my Instagram stories except one account. Those on my private account must have been wondering why I haven't had stories on there for a while. Over the past 5 months, I have posted a series of false stories to see if they made their way into the Sun newspaper. And you know what? They did. The story about gender selection in Mexico, the story about returning to TV, and then the latest story about the basement flooding in my new house. It's been tough to keep it to myself and not make any comment at all, especially when the stories have been leaked. However, I had to. Now I know for certain which account/individual it's come from. I have saved and screenshotted, not a word, all the original stories which clearly show just one person has viewed them. It's... Rebecca Vardy's account.
Now, part of her investigative work, and I vaguely knew this, but it reminded me, was she thought, now, it keeps on, all these stories are linked to the Sun newspaper, so it must be people who've got some sort of endorsement or whatever with the Sun. And then she realized that, well, first of all, that wouldn't be someone from Liverpool, because...
Yes, I didn't know this.
This was fascinating and horrible, but Liverpool hates the Sun newspaper because in 1989 there was the Hillsborough disaster, which was, I believe,
fire in the football stadium.
Yeah, and the way the Sun covered it was they said that fans pickpocketed victims, fans urinated on the brave cops, fans beat up a cop giving the kiss of life. they released all these fake things about that horrible thing happening. And then, since then, the Sun's quite often not stocked in places.
Yeah, when they showed those pictures of like newsagents with those thing that says like you can't buy the Sun, Sun doesn't get sold here.
And some people don't even say the Sun by name.
Yeah.
They just refer to it as that newspaper,
Wow.
which was amazing.
Yeah.
So that was fascinating. So that led her to believe that, it couldn't be someone from Liverpool.
Yeah.
And then she realized that it had to be someone with a connection to the Sun, and she saw repeatedly that Rebecca Vardy was getting all this coverage in the Sun, and Colleen's publicist was saying, well, the coverage that Rebecca was getting meant that there must be some sort of deal in place because it was so positive.
I loved that. So that's Rachel Monk, her PR person, who's being interviewed on like a brown leather sofa somewhere. She's fantastic. She's giving shades of Nicola from
Yes.
from Totally Scott Lee. Just kind of like very powerful woman in the UK working in the media, like, oh, whatever, fuck off.
Yeah.
And they're just really good shots of her. It's basically her looking through those articles, all these articles that Rebecca Vardy was doing with the Sun, and she's like, there's nothing here. Like, she's not promoting anything. All they're doing is just talking about how amazing she is. She's like, this is for nothing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's really good.
So the whole reason it seems that Rebecca Vardy did all this was to get in a good relationship with the Sun so she could get favorable coverage.
Yeah. My favorite part of Colleen's investigation was the amount of times that she made the mistake of not hiding everyone from the story. I loved that there was like 3 separate times that she did it, and then she was like, fuck.
Oh, yeah, I just accepted friend request from one of Wayne's friends, Eric, and he was there.
Exactly.
So I had to do it again with someone else.
It was like a couple of times because you have to go through and manually like deselect everyone, and I love that a couple of people slipped through the net. The idea of her, like, I feel like she put glasses on in Costa on that 3rd time, and she's like, right, I've really got to concentrate. What do you think she orders in Costa? I think a cappuccino, skinny cappuccino.
I think a latte. I think she likes a milky latte.
Oh, see, I think skinny cappuccino is Colleen's order.
Wait, I think I've got this
skinny cappuccino.
I hope I've got the right bit queued up. Let's listen.
I'd just done the school run and I drove to have my eyelashes done in my friend's garage.
So that's one of her friends.
Oh my God.
I just that reference.
Getting her eyelashes done in a friend's garage.
So that's a section of the documentary in episode 2 where everyone's talking about where they were when they saw the post.
I love
about
her
Rebecca
friends.
Vardy.
Her friends look like a bunch of fucking no-nonsense Scouse women who will fuck you up.
They all seem like just nice, genuine people. Yeah. They also clearly love a drink.
Yes.
Like,
oh, yeah.
When they privately have like their gals outings and stuff, you know the Colleen lets loose.
Oh, yeah. That when you went to, was it
Soho Farmhouse?
Riding around on a bike with a bottle of rosé. I loved that. I feel like that was one of my, I think I already kind of said this, but I'll say it again. My biggest takeaway was just, how kind of normal she is, and how her whole thing, and the thing that rubs people up the wrong way about her is that people think she's acting very like, oh, I'm so humble and normal. I'm just like a normal girl, just like you. But like, seeing her at home, seeing her like doing her stuff, she is a normal person.
Yeah, just has lots of money.
She just has lots of money.
Famous.
Yeah, and like even certain parts of like the north of England, I think, where there's that very glamorous, like where there's money and kind of glamour, and it's not even necessarily fame, like you know, Cheshire, like those kind of places. People are just like her anyway. Like, she's actually normal.
Yeah.
Even, you know, compared to some of the people who are kind of well off in those areas. Like, she drives like a Range Rover, and she's like driving around these gorgeous little like towns near Liverpool. It's like, yeah, I think she just is a normal person.
Michael had a real issue with the fact that when she moved to Washington, that she drove a Honda. He was like, she's really rich. Why was she driving a Honda?
Washington was such an unexpected locale for that. Just strange place to move as a Brit. It's kind of, to not work in politics and to move to DC is so bizarre.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's like, what else is, like, I don't know, just the idea of Colleen driving past like the Washington Monument, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Thoughts on Wayne?
Well, it was interesting because this kind of whole thing starts with the relationship between Wayne and Colleen, and he has got into trouble publicly so many times. And the big kind of trouble of this documentary was him being caught in a car, really, really drunk driving like a random stranger's car. A Beetle, yes. His moments in this documentary were used very thoughtfully and very carefully. He wasn't in it very much. when he was in it, he was very like just positive about Colleen. I would say just from a, I don't want to talk about people's looks, but I do think Wayne's always been a slightly unusual looking fellow. I feel like he's grown into the best version of himself these days.
It's kind of sexy.
Yeah, he kind of makes sense as an older man with like a beard, like a dad. Like like I was like, oh, Wayne really looks great.
I just love that he had no idea that she was doing this.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Because also, would you not think that why didn't she just go straight to Rebecca and say, I've got all this evidence against you, got all these things, stop, and I'm defriending you, and I know, and stop. Like, why did she...
Because she did unfriend her, didn't she? Remember?
Oh, yeah.
And then she, like, when she tried to, like, worm her way back in...
Oh, must have been the kids playing on the phone.
Yeah. That's when she was like, okay, well, now I think something's up.
Yeah.
I think she kind of explained it, didn't she, about it was that the move to Washington and her and Wayne were like just getting back together. I think she didn't tell him or Rebecca because she was like, I think she wanted to do it publicly to embarrass her.
Yeah.
So I think that's why
but also bearing in mind, she didn't think about Wayne's career or the fact, doesn't Wayne play with Rebecca Vardy's husband?
Jamie
Vardy. So like that's also a thing.
Jamie, Wayne, Colleen and Rebecca.
And what's Colleen's mum? Colette.
Colleen, oh my God, I loved Colette. Oh,
don't mess with Colette.
Don't fuck with Colette. She was tough as nails, but also like seemed still just, she was great.
Also, it was amazing, all that early footage they had of Colleen growing up, and like she's like boxing with her dad and stuff like that.
I loved that.
Terrifying. But also Wayne saying, oh yeah, Colleen, like her family were quite posh. It's like, what?
Something that was interesting at the beginning was their very quick rise to fame because he started playing for England when he was like 17 or something crazy like that.
16, I think it was.
And how weird and disgusting it was that they were like, especially because Piers fucking Morgan was in it. And there was that, like all that hype around trying to get photos of Colleen after he signed for England being like, oh my God, they're like, childhood sweethearts. Like they're not childhood sweethearts, they are children.
Yeah.
And those like pictures of her in her school uniform, it's so disgusting.
She's a child walking to school.
Right. She had some great early 2000s looks, like when it's like her going to the press conference to talk about moving to a different club. Oh, yeah. She's always just in like a jean and like a nice top with like a lace detail at the top of it.
Yeah, there's one where it is like a press conference, everyone's in suits, and there she is in like some jeans.
Jeans and a heel.
Jeans and a heel and a top.
She had real early 2000s, I call it badger stripe hair as well. Just some chunky highlights, which I loved.
Liz McLaughlin hair.
Oh, McLaughlin.
No, McLaughlin, McLaren.
Liz McLaren, Colleen McLaughlin.
Colleen McLaughlin.
Colleen McLaren. So I thought the way it was, like by the final episode where they're talking about the trial, what I thought was really, because I didn't know how it turned out, for me, one of the most satisfying moments was when she got cross-examined and they were like basically saying, how can you call an account private when there's 300 followers? And how that they, when they cross-examined her, they went through almost every single follower that was a business, and where they were like, how do you justify this being a personal relationship?
Yeah. How do you know that someone at this business didn't see your private thing and leak it to the Sun?
And it was fantastic what she did. She basically had a close personal relationship with every person that owned a business that she followed.
Yeah.
She's like, that's my brother's gym. That's my friend Sarah. She runs a clothes shop in Cracker. That's my friend. I was just like, you fucking go, Colleen.
Also, it's so sweet because you just know that she frequents all of those businesses.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I've got all this money, may as well like pay people I know.
Yeah, completely. And because she has her other account where she must do like promo stuff and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know that she's the kind of person, especially now after watching this, she genuinely is just using that for like, that's her real life one, where like, that's what a real woman, like a Colleen's real woman, like her who lives in Liverpool would do for her friends and like businesses and stuff. It's fascinating.
I love at the beginning, like she points out the gym that she goes to, and it is like a tiny building with like a sign up above it. And then the fact that one of her friends is going to get her lashes done in someone's garage is so wonderfully low skill shopping.
Love it.
Let's talk about the house.
Which house?
A
current abode.
The one where the basement flooded. False. That was a fake story she put on to get.
I loved the press article about their house, the mean one that said it looked like they were building a Morrison's.
Yeah.
Such a specific reference.
It's such a, like, that house is exactly the house you'd expect them to build. It's like big, fancy, a bit bland.
Yeah.
Like, it's not actually distasteful and gross in an outlandish way. It's just big and kind of bland.
Yes. Yeah.
I love the fact that they'd clearly bought this big plot of land, built, like, dug out a lake to create a moat. Because you notice they drive, once you go into the Jurassic Park gates, you go over a bridge over water. Love that. I was perplexed by the fact that the front door, the front entrance, has grand steps going up to it. I was like, how's she getting up there with a pram? And then we're like, oh no, she's probably got a back entrance or side entrance.
Got that's where the cars actually park around the side.
So so the front bit with the fountain or whatever and the gravel driveway. Okay.
I was also really obsessed with her home life when it comes to her organization, because that wasn't because there was a documentary being filmed about her at all. And again, it's that exact thing of right now, there's very much that culture of like women of her age who maybe are like influencers, like what's she called, like Mrs. Hinch, or like Stacey Solomon does it. There's those accounts that are like, they show off like, this is how I stay organized as like a mum.
Yeah.
She's so the fucking perfect sweet spot to be that kind of person that's like, she has all her kids' bags laid out. They're like labeled with names on them. She goes and places them in the right spot in the hallway, like every morning. And when she said she was going away, when she was going to court, and she had all that stuff on like a rack
for her mum.
And I just was like, no. This is happening every single day, whether there's a camera crew there or not. She is that kind of, I bet she has labels of, I bet she decants. In fact, I saw at one point she had a cereal decanter with Cocoa Puffs in it that she was giving to one of her kids. And I couldn't see the front of it, but I bet it said cereal on the front with a label. Yeah, she's such a label person as well. She's just a real ordinary mum. And I mean that in the greatest way possible, that it's so strange that she's become a famous person when she's actively resisted it and is still resisting it, and is just like, just happens to be rich and famous.
When she was like 16, 17, 18, did all the fun, like fitness DVDs and stuff, and then was like, actually, no.
Yeah, she's like, this is not me.
Not doing it. So who on earth would the US equivalent of Colleen be? And or this whole, the Wagatha Christie saga, like, what is the US equivalent?
I mean, I have like a Bravo equivalent, but it doesn't quite.
A Bravo scandal.
Yeah, there was like there's like a libel case that happened from someone saying something mean about another, one housewife saying something mean about another housewife, and it genuinely went to court. But there wasn't so much of the kind of investigation angle, and it was pretty gross and dark what was said. But so Brandi Glanville from the ex-Real Housewives of Beverly Hills was on Watch What Happens Live, and Andy Cohen mentioned that one of the Real Housewives at the time of Miami, she's called Joanna Krupa, had like tweeted something negative about Brandi because she knew her or something, and Brandi basically went on to I don't feel like I should say it because it's kind of so disgusting, but
you can just allude to it.
She basically alluded to the fact that she knew a man who was involved in the Beverly Hills show had slept with Joanna Krupa and was unflattering about the scent of her nether regions.
Oh, okay.
But she said something very explicit, and Joanna Krupa took her to court for libel.
And what happened?
I can't quite remember the results, but I feel like just in terms of it being a court case about someone saying something mean about someone, that pettiness, that feels like it's kind of in the realm, but it's not as, that was big in the Bravo community. It wasn't like, because I feel like because it's Wayne and Colleen, it brought in like everyone. It brought in straight people who like football and other people who like Colleen's real women.
And she said that when someone termed Wagatha, that just elevated the whole story as well.
Yes.
This is dark, but is it a little bit OJ?
No, that was a murder trial. It was definitely a circus like this one, but we need something.
Okay, what about a leaking of like Pamela Anderson's sex tape? A little bit like that? I don't know. I'll just say, American listeners, please get in touch, or any listeners around the world, please get in touch. What do you think the US equivalent of the Wagatha Christie saga is?
Yeah, we need high profile, low stakes, kind of a joke. No one's actually going to prison.
Everyone remembers. Everyone was aware of it.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Yeah, please get in touch. We'd love your thoughts. Right, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
As well, not as ever, but you've got a few more episodes of Drag Race UK. They come out every week.
Yep.
Listen along with us, and you'll get another episode of You Are Prime at some point. Who knows when? Other than that, get in touch on Instagram. Give us a shout on email. Please sign our change.org Cheryl Cole petition. And other than that, thanks for listening. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Oh, it's pretty fella. Yeah,
I'm going to post it on my private account.
Private account. The Sun newspaper.
You are right up Main Street.
Oh, you can't make me choose.
Igo by Toyota sponsors T4.
Fuck me, Lee Ryan's 13.
I remember we couldn't remember the word for table.